The Maple Leafs are on a winning streak as the third line continues to impress. Hey everyone, welcome to Inside the Leafs. Rob Wong, joined alongside by Toronto Sun Maple Leafs writers Lance Hornby and Terry Koshan. And guys, the Maple Leafs have now won 2 in a row after a big victory on the road against the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. Terry, it took 26 games, but can we confidently say that that was the most impressive win of the Leafs season?
Yeah, I think so. Even more than Saturday in Pittsburgh where they beat up on the Penguins and, I think it was the biggest winning margin of the year for the Leafs. This one, given the circumstances, going into Florida for the first time since last spring, when the Panthers eliminated them for the second time in 3 years in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I know that, Florida obviously with Barkov and Tkachuk among others. Well, so what? The Leafs haven't used their injuries as an excuse, and you go into a game without two of your top defensemen in Tanev and Carlo, which they haven't had for a while, then there's potential for trouble. But the Leafs have been playing better defensively. And, I just think that everything around this game, the big question was, can they carry forward from Pittsburgh? They did that. But really it was the determination and competitive level they had against the Panthers that really Florida didn't have much of an answer for. I mean, Florida's a hard forechecking team, but the Leafs didn't have much of a problem with that. Moved the puck nicely out of their own zone. They won a lot of puck battles. I mean, that play, one that really impressed me in the third was on the Scott Laughton goal. Nick Robertson fighting with Gustav Forsling in the corner on the forecheck to help come out with the puck. I mean, this is one of the better defensemen in the NHL, and as we all know, Robertson's not the biggest man in the ice. So when you see that determination coming from, one of your bottom six, it can't help but inspire the rest of the group. So good to see Lawton get off it. Troy Stecher scores. But yeah, overall, for sure, it was, I think, their biggest win of the year. I don't think there's any doubt. And, for a little cherry on top, and it might not last, you put the Panthers in the Eastern Conference basement. So again, it's only December. That could change, but for at least 24 hours, I would imagine the Leafs felt pretty happy about
that. I'd say, to use one of Terry's points, psychologically, this was their biggest win of the year. To go in there and taking last year into account and how they've started this season. Certainly spirit-wise, and, once more, third time in a row, I think, scoring on the first shot and dodging a bullet, too. I think in every game so far, they've either dodged a goal through video review or something has bounced their way. And these things have a way of evening out as the season goes on, and certainly those were not going the Maple Leafs' way early on. Now they're getting a couple of those breaks, and they're able to move along. But certainly to win in Florida, and you saw elements certainly early on, especially after Florida got the shorthanded goal. Suddenly they're all over Toronto, just like they were in the playoff series, and you saw the Leafs answer back, which they've not been able to do in terms of showing some structure that way, getting the big save. Certainly early on in the year, Joseph Woll's played quite well since. So from that perspective, yeah, it's big. And now, who'd have thought they'd come out of this, or maybe come out of this road trip with a winning record, which they could do as they swing home through Carolina.
Yeah, there haven't been too many games this year where the Maple Leafs have outshot the opponent and won the game. So that was also nice to see from Craig Berube's team. Meanwhile, the forward core is getting healthier, and Berube has been able to put together some consistent line combinations, Lance. One trio that has definitely stood out the last couple of games here is that third line, Nicolas Roy, Dakota Joshua, and Bobby McMann, who have had different lineups, different line mates throughout the whole year. But now since they've been put together, it seems to be a trio that Craig Berube can rely on.
Well, certainly sitting Dakota Joshua was something that was overdue. And this is the kind of, we'll say, high-profile benching that everyone thought Berube was going to make last year. He really didn't have to resort to that. Like, everybody was, eagerly awaiting him to slap down Mitch Marner. And Mitch Marner turned out to be someone who was willing to play ball with Craig Berube's system. So there were no issues there. So now you've had that. You've had Max Domi sit as well. So I think in Dakota Joshua's case, coming up with some goals, that's a reflection of the benching that, marked certainly Craig Berube's last stop in St. Louis, when he was able to bring some, get some cohesion there, bring down maybe a couple of big names such as Max Domi. He's considered a top six forward, but may have to be, right now he's up top. You might see him in a different role as things go on. So I think it's good for Bobby McMann to get going as well. And did these guys ever miss Nicolas Roy when he was hurt for a couple of games? Big on faceoffs, a big man, and you can see why they were willing to move on from David Kampf with a lot of the things this guy can do.
Yeah, it's that line, the size, the potential for physicality, and not running people over. Even though Joshua got into it in Pittsburgh the other night when he steamrolled Matthew Dumba, but you don't need to see that every shift. But it's just the grinding the opponent down, and whether that's happening along the wall, as Berube said last night, in the offensive zone, the two big wingers in McMann and Joshua, or on the forecheck. There's a lot of potential here for this line, and it's overdue for Joshua and Wong. I mean, let's be serious here. These guys have not been good for the first 20 games or so. Certainly not with any consistency. And it's about time they got rolling. The whole they're new and getting used to it is old and should have been put together a month ago. And I don't think they're using that as an excuse, but kind of enough's enough. And McMann as well. Hasn't really scored at the same pace he did a year ago, but a couple more points last night, and he's looking much better. So that line, I mean, that's what a third line does for you. You want to have a good backbone there. Get the opponent tired. We're not asking them to score every shift or every game, but really be influential in that physical way. They've seen that now for a couple of games. Like Lance said, Nick Baugh on the faceoffs is key. Like he won 12 of 15 last night. At least dominated the Panthers in the faceoffs top to bottom, and he was one of those guys that did that. But yeah, it's a good sign, and it allows you to have. We talk about structure on the ice a little more literally in the lineup now. That third line, and Berube, for the time being, doesn't have to worry about it, and that will have him sleep better at night, I'm sure. But kudos to the three, and it's funny benching a Joshua. Real quick on that. When you're benching these guys now, you don't expect them to go and learn anything new. They're not going to go up and watch and say, okay, I should be doing this, that, and that. What it is a recognition of, hey, this isn't why we brought you here. You haven't done the things we want you to do. Get back to what made you effective and why we thought you were going to be a good player for us. Joshua has done that in the past couple of games, and good on him.
And I think, too, that's flowed down to the fourth line as well, certainly since Scott Laughton's been back as well.
Yeah, talk about a guy you needed to score, right? Like, I know, again, hey, Scott Laughton, we're not expecting 2 goals a game from you, but it's only his third in 28 games the Leafs in the regular season since he was acquired, and we saw the relief last night when he put the puck in the net. But again, going to the net. That's what Berube always talked about. Go to the net. Joshua did it. Laughton did it. Puck goes in. So keep that going too.
Yeah, the depth has been showing up for this Maple Leafs team. We'll see if they can get some more of it coming up on Thursday when they head to Raleigh to face off against the Carolina Hurricanes. As always, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. For Terry Koshan and Lance Hornby, I'm Rob Wong. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.